Hello and welcome to today's program. And today is World Terrorism Day, which is celebrated on 27th of September each year. The aim of the celebration is to highlight global terrorism. And countries all around the world depend on tourism, and Nigeria is not left out, especially in Enugu State. And this year's theme, tourism and rural development. With me in today's discussion is the founder of ITO Africa and CEO of Trend Discoveries, Wilson Uche Ugo. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here today.
Yes. It is said that this year's World Tourism Day is a chance to recognize the role tourism plays outside these big cities. Is tourism truly integrated within the rural communities?
All right, Chidima, for me to look at that question, we have to approach it very critically. One thing is that it requires a whole lot for the government to do to be able to drive investors to now go to those areas. But having said that, we are actually acting as a middleman between the government and the prospective investors. Our passion for tourism is that we will be able to convince any will-be investor to see reason to invest, and also to advise the government to also create an enabling environment. There are certain things that is required to be done, or there are certain things we ought to do before an investor is willing to come. Number one is adequate security. Nobody would want to invest in an area where there is insecurity. And I think the government has done so much in that aspect, in the sense that Enugu has been rated as one of the most peaceful and secured states in Nigeria. Having said that, we move a bit further. Now, there has to be an understanding between the government and the community itself. You find a situation whereby when the community seem to have lost control over such a attraction, they tend to be restive. So government is going to make that place conducive. For an investor, when you invest, you don't have issues with the community. That's one part. And then also create waiver. But that waiver comes, there has to be a law that says that when you are investing in tourism, you will not be, certain taxes won't be, you are not going to pay certain taxes. So when you do that, it becomes attractive. I can assure you that we have lots and lots of investors who are ready to key into it. The world is actually moving towards tourism.
Okay, what are the benefits that tourism will bring in the rural populace?
It actually mitigates rural-urban migration. It reduces it to the barest minimum, and then it also attracts development. When you find a situation whereby, let's say, let me give you an instance of Ohum waterfalls, and then Ohum waterfalls to a large extent is being controlled by the missionaries, and then when government now approach that place, you find out that people become interested. One is that people start investing. Now you see a situation whereby people start building houses around there. And when people start building houses around there, one is that it creates job. There is what we call direct effect and indirect effect. Then the little woman in the village who has less income is going to bring her wares and begin to sell, no matter what it is. And what happens is that she's being empowered directly or indirectly. And then what you see is, you see a situation whereby more money is moved to the rural area. And then some people who ordinarily wouldn't have had access to certain facilities will begin to have them. So it's very important and very important. And we are looking forward that we'll begin to, most governments in Nigeria, especially state governments, will begin to look in that direction.
All right. There was an existence of wildlife conservation in the state. I don't know whether it still exists, but will the government venture in this area?
Of course, there has been plans, though I am not going to come here. I am not the mouthpiece of the government, but I know I am privy of the that there are certain investors who already approached the government. But remember, this is not the first time investors have approached the government. Sometimes some are genuine, some are not just, they are just coming to see what they are going to take away from the government. But let's look at it from the positive angle to it. If an investor is interested in doing that, like me, I was not happy the fact that they moved the zoo that we had then while I was growing up. I will look forward to going to the zoo. So my parents, they will always take us to the zoo and we watch both the crocodiles and every other thing. I remember the tortoise we had then, they said over 100 years. And then we go there to watch the tortoise. I think it died a few years back. But then, and then the gorilla or something like that, the one ape like that. And then all of that was something that actually gave us something to talk about. But today, in as much as they had genuine reason to have moved it, because there is development, and you can't have such thing in the midst of where people stay. But there should have been adequate arrangements. And that is where I thought Africa is always clamoring, that most governments, before you take decision, always seek the advice of experts. So that you'll be able to move it like that zoo would have been moved to another place. Today, children who grew up from 1986 up to this moment probably doesn't know what is called zoo in Enugu. So, and then you are wondering. And it's something, sometimes I begin to wonder, who advises the government? And why are we doing this to ourselves? A city is not complete except it has all it takes to be called a city. And zoo and touristic attractions, they are all part of it that makes it a complete city.
Okay. Are there platforms that are made available so that all these tourist sites and whatever strategy or plans you have taken to make sure that it gets to the outside world?
Yes, of course. That's where the media plays the big role. Government must have interest in what we call travel markets. There are forum, or call it fora, where exhibitions, people come to exhibit what they have. We have the Aquaba. I'm not here to advertise for Aquaba, but then in Nigeria today, everyone is proud to attend Aquaba, and it's one of the top travel meets that we have. There you have experts coming around, and you also have investors coming around. So like Enugu should be prepared to be able to participate in some of these tourism summits, organize one, and then bring together investors, create the environment where investors and the people who are receiving, the government officials, meet to talk about how they are going to develop. So apart from media, we're also looking at, like I mentioned, the travel markets, the tourism markets, participate in it, and then as well engage, have a forum where you engage professionals to be able to do that.
Let's look at the situation that they are facing globally.
Yeah.
This year's tourism among the hard hit sector due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Sure.
So if there is a future occurrence, is there anything that can be done so that such effect will not be made on the tourism sector? Actually,
it was quite a pity that the world was taken unawares. We were sleeping when COVID came, and we were caught unguarded. And the truth is that right now I believe that we've learned our lessons, but there's no how, because one thing that happened was that a lot of people were into what we call international tourism, and then inter-country tourism. But now there is a local tourism where Nigeria has not really done much. If I tell you how much we spend, the Nigerians spend to go to Dubai for holiday, you'll be so shocked. So when eventually the COVID pandemic came and there was a lockdown, people were caught off guard. Why? Because we relied so much on international tourism. So, but now we are talking about the local tourism. And so far, the lessons we've learned, and the local tourism is growing very speedily. I remember that the first post-pandemic tour organized in Nigeria, it was I Tour Africa that organized it. And I'm very proud to say that, because we need to restart tourism.
Okay. There is this view that with the gradual easing of travel restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there might be a reoccurrence, but you're not praying for that. What are the preparations made on observing safety protocols against your scheduled activities on the 26th and 27th of this month?
Of course, knowing fully well that most of the things, especially we do here in Nigeria, that government is participating in, they ensure that they put in place and ensure that the protocols, all protocols are observed. For us here, we have instructed that anybody who is coming out has to observe all protocols required. First, we must ensure that we observe what we call social distancing to a certain level. And then again, when you are coming, you come out with your masks. We are looking forward that everyone who is coming should come along with their masks. And those are the things we've also ensured that we pass the message across to everybody that is to participate. And having said that, we also ensure that there are certain medical health measures that we put in place. We are going to provide hand washing tools like the water, the bucket, and the detergents, and also sanitizers for people to be able to use it intermediately. Okay. And I believe that that will work.
All right. Are there a restricted number of persons to participate in these activities?
And to a large extent, we will ensure that all that is required to be done is done.
Okay. Tourism and within these rural areas, how are you strategized to maintain and sustain the growth of these tourist sites to a longer period of time without allowing it to be a shadow of itself?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, that's exactly why we are in this business. We're in this business to proffer ways to ensure that there is this sustainability. And our job is to also liaise with the community, because there's a role the community has to play, and there's the role the government will have to play. So one is that they say charity begins at home. So if truly an investor would want to invest in that place, the rural community, especially where these tourist sites are domiciled, should be able to take care of those things. And while taking care of it, the government would support their efforts, augment their efforts by ensuring that certain things they require to be able to do that. Like for the program we have for 27th, which is on Sunday, having met with the community, the Omoho community, Belago, Omana, Eziago, they took it upon themselves to clean up the entire environment. They are going to set up the place for the celebration, and they are going to host people who are going to come in. So having done that, I think the community itself has shown some level of support, yes, for what they have. That means they are actually looking forward to receiving visitors. So what we will do is that we will engage them while we also engage the government. That's two ways.
Okay. Can you highlight some of the activities that is going to take place between these 2 days?
Yes. For us earlier, what we planned doing was to have a roadwork, a tourism roadwork that is supposed to create awareness. Not everybody knows some of these sites. Even if I ask you now, I know you may not be able to mention up to 10. But then this is in Enugu. And yesterday I put up a challenge asking people to mention up to 30. And then some were able to do it, some couldn't. But having said this, we are creating awareness. And through the roadwork, we are going to create more awareness, because we are going to have our flyers where we list most of these sites and then share it to everybody. What we intend doing is that First of all, for you to be able to participate in what we are doing, you need to have knowledge. And you have to know what we are doing. So secondly, we planned having a symposium, though because of the time frame we have to remove it. But right now, the only thing we have for 26th is the roadwork. And the roadwork is going to start from, we are going to all assemble at Opera Square, Michael Opera Square. And then from there we kick off the movement. And then we'll move through the government house and then some of the selected routes. I'm going to mention them, but I'm not going to mention them here. But we are going to be guided through the route from government house, and then we'll end up at Enugu Tourism Board office. Then the next day being Sunday, all road leads to Omo. There's a Ziago waterfall. It's called Oboko Waterfall at a Ziago in Omo, Obelago, Omana. So everybody goes there to catch fun. It's going to be fun in the sense that the entire community, they are going to roll out their drum, dance, and welcome the visitors. And we are going to have masquerade display, comedy, and all of that. It's going to be fun.
All right. It's very great having you in our midst today, Wilson Uche Ogo, the founder of Arto Africa and CEO of Trend Discoveries. Now, tourism promotes the economic and cultural heritage and social welfare of the people. And on this note, we have come to the end of the program. I am Chidima Mado. Bye for now.